What is it like being a Jamaican in El Salvador? Hi, I'm Xavier Murphy, the founder of Jamaicans.com, and today in Jamaicans to the World, I talk to Donald Cleary, a Jamaican living in El Salvador. Welcome, Donald. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
So let me kind of clear things up a little bit. Donald lives in El Salvador, but for the most part, his job takes him quite a few places, and so we're going to dive into some of the other places just a little bit, talk about some of the places they have been. But today we're gonna talk El Salvador. But
Okay.
first, Donald, which part of Jamaica you come from?
Well, I'm a Kingstonian, right? I went to St. George's College. I grew up Pembroke Hall for the most part of my life. At the latter stage, my mom got a house in Portmore, so my Jamaican address is a Portmore address right now. So if I still have a Jamaican driver's license, and it
Right.
has my Jamaican, it has my Cumberland address.
Okay. I'm a Portmorite also. I lived in Edgewater, and have some really good friends from George's. We do an event, True Blue Weekend with George's
Okay,
and so
cool.
on.
Oh, yeah, JC then. You're a JC.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes, yes. So tell us a story about how you got to El Salvador.
Well, I mean, I teach internationally. I taught at Hillel Academy, and I had the opportunity to leave Hillel to teach international. I went to Saudi Arabia, and after a stint in Saudi Arabia, I did a stint in Oman um, at an international school in Muscat, and then I left Muscat and I went to El Salvador to teach. So international teaching is what brought me to El Salvador initially.
Okay. And tell us a little bit about the people of El Salvador.
People, I mean, El Salvador. All right, so I don't know how this might sound, but as a black man who's traveled the world, I have not gone anywhere except for El Salvador where I can honestly say I've not been made to feel different because of the color of my skin. El Salvador, no one noticed me. Sometimes I'm the only black man walking the street, and I don't feel like an odd one out. I don't feel people staring at me. I don't feel the tension that sometimes you feel in other places. So I would say Salvadoran people they're very friendly, very open, and not judgmental.
Okay.
And that's it. Probably you'll probably find that for the most part in Central America, but definitely El Salvador. That's been my experience. Guatemala as well, but El Salvador for definitely. Their people are not judgmental. They're friendly. They're warm. I guess you could say this about a lot of people all over the world, but the distinction for me is that my blackness is not a marker of who I am. It's who I am is that marks me in El Salvador.
Nice, nice. And you're married to an is it Salvadorian or El Salvadorian?
Salvadorenia. So
Salvadoranian. So you're married to a Salvadoranian.
yeah, Salvadorenia without the N.
Salvadorania.
Yes, yeah, yes, you need to work on your Spanish, David. Salvadorenia. Salvadorian. Let's say like we do it the English way, Salvadorian.
All right, Salvadorian. Yes, you're married to a Salvadorian.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, nice. So tell me a little bit about the food in El Salvador, and if you had a recommendation for something that people should try there, what would that be?
Well, without a doubt, it's like is there the pupusa is like a national. It's the equivalent of a national dish. And they don't call it a national dish, but pupusas. It's like a tortilla. I don't know if I can describe this right, but it's like a tortilla, but it's stuffed or filled with stuff. It's maybe about this thick, usually, or but you can have really big ones because sometimes they have pupusa festivals and different parts of the country you have these huge pupusas like it's the size of I don't know a room. But it's stuffed with things like frijoles. Sorry, that's Spanish. It's stuffed with stuff. It's stuffed with things like red peas, what we call red peas, but it's like grounded out
Mm-hmm.
into a paste. Or you have another one they call revolta. This is my favorite. Revolta, which really means mixed. So it has like pork in it. It can have cheese in it, and then you have other types. You have several types. You can have one that's called Loroco that has like a very some of these things I can't describe because there's no Jamaican equivalent for it. So it's
All
very
right.
difficult to describe. But pupusa, Pupusa
Gotta
is
try that.
you have to have a pupusa, and you could probably have them in Florida because I'm pretty sure you have pupusa stores in Florida, Salvadorians in Florida where you are.
Yes,
But
yes.
yeah, the real pupusas are in El Salvador.
Well, that I was about to say. Sometimes, like we always say, the real thing is when you're there in the
Yeah,
country.
yeah.
Nothing like the authentic thing.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, but like most Latin American countries, grilling. I mean, they have their own grill. You always, asada. It's like a grill type of usually meat. So
Right.
like, a lot of the expressions are coming in Spanish. So it's difficult to explain in English. It's like meat that they put on the grill, and you have it grilled, and they'll grill even like onions, but everything is grilled pretty much. Your main
Nice.
thing is grill. Like, you'll have friends over, you put stuff on the grill, so it's probably one of the main things that they eat.
Yeah.
The spicing is different from what we have from our spicing in Jamaica, but it's very delicious just the same.
Okay.
What else do they eat here? Plantain. Woo, I love plantain, and plantain is here. So
Nice.
so yeah, plantain is a main thing here.
So,
Interestingly,
yes.
in terms of Spanish, I went to Dumrep and they call it plantain Platana Maduro, because plantains they call bananas plantains. So I had a difficult time trying to get plantains, but here plantain is just plantain, platano. So it's easy. It's here. It's everywhere you go. You see plantains.
So I see you thinking in Spanish, and it's about to come out in Spanish, and then you say, "What's the English and whatever?" Tell us your journey on learning the language.
Okay, so when I came here to teach internationally at the English school, the British school rather, most of the guys, they would date Salvadorian females who spoke a little English. So the female is the one who walked out learning English because they had to adapt to the English the guys spoke. But the person I dated, who eventually became my wife, she only speaks Spanish. So I had learned basic Spanish at UWI, at UE. So I had very, very basics, not conversational stuff, but I could pose, hola, como estas, few basic stuff. So my language pulled the other way. So I ended up learning Spanish because to hang out with my partner, wife now, and all her friends, I had to learn Spanish to talk. And it was difficult. It took about, I would say, first 6 months before I was able to start having basic conversations with my wife. And then it probably took maybe a year and a half, 2 years before I could actually integrate into conversations and understand maybe 80% of everything they're saying. But the truth is, language communication is not just verbal. It's actually less of it is verbal. A lot of it is context, body language. So, you can survive even if you don't really know exactly what the person said. You have the context of the conversation. You see the body language, where they're pointing, the way the eyes open up. So you kind of read a lot more into that way. So, but yeah, my language, my journey in learning Spanish started with, just wanting to communicate with my wife.
Nice. So when people find out that you're Jamaican, what's the typical response you get there?
So it's just like, okay, cool. It's not. Yeah, it goes back to my first point. It's who I am, and it's not those other things about me that makes me special. It's, they get to know me, and then, oh yeah, he's a cool guy. We like him. We can hang out with him.
Right.
He's not snobbish. He's not stuck up. Whatever. So
Okay.
yeah. So being Jamaican in El Salvador doesn't necessarily hold prestige as it does in other places in the world. Like most places in the world that I've been, it's like, whoa, you're from Jamaica. It's like, I remember they have their own beaches. We have, it's a similar culture. So the island of being in Jamaica itself is not unique in and of itself the way it is for other parts of the world. But yeah, so being Jamaican here is like, okay, you're from Jamaica, cool.
I see. Music. What type of music is dominant there?
Music, Latin music. You'll hear a lot of reggaeton, which is cool for me because of the I'm hearing the beats.
Yes.
The Jamaican beats. Like there is a song
Yeah,
that
no, the original reggaeton, basically it's just
yeah, and
shabarangs,
it's those
dembow.
beats. You hear them. You hear them. You hear the beats.
Yes,
They're all the beats. Like just recently, I was hearing a song on radio, which was a total. The whole beat was Egyptian song. You remember that Egyptian song that said, "Girl, me want feel hold you." That
yes,
song. Yeah, the
yes,
whole song. There is a whole song in Spanish on that same beat, and I'm listening to songs. So for me, it's like I don't even have to listen to the words
right.
because it's like I'm singing Egyptian in my head. So reggaeton is like, yeah, there's another song that I just heard. I can't, it's called Le Encanto. Juan Magan. I can't, it's an old reggae song that it's sort of like a takeoff.
Nice.
So you have a lot of reggaeton for the most part, but you have other types of El Salvador doesn't really have its own cultural music. El Salvador, the music from Latin America is part of the culture. So you have salsa, you have bachata, all this different types of music from the region is popular here.
Nice. You learned the bachata, the dance. I tried.
Yeah. No, I can't. I bachata. I did the bachata at my wedding, so I can. And yeah, bachata is actually my favorite. I like bachata. Romeo
Nice.
Santos is my favorite. Romeo Santos is one of bachata. Romeo Santos for me.
Nice. Yeah, we tried, but yeah,
No, it's very simple. Bachata is very. It's when you try to do the fancy stuff, it gets complicated. But the step itself is very simple.
The fancy stuff is, you're on the floor and you're doing a simple, step, whatever, and then you sit at somebody and you're like,
yeah, no, just stay simple, man. We're Jamaicans, man. We're not Latin people. Just keep it simple. Do this simple step, and you're fine. And you'll function on the dance floor, and everybody will say, okay, he's not messing it up for everyone else.
What's the cost of living there like?
Dirt cheap, which is one of the reasons why I live here and probably want to retire here. Yeah, well,
give me an example. Like, let's say, you go to a median restaurant and you order a meal for two. What would that look like in US dollars?
Okay. So let's say I go to Olive Gardens. I could take myself, my wife, my kids, her kids, so 4 kids, that's 6 people. We could go to Olive Gardens and still go and watch a movie because there's a nice movie theater right beside Olive Gardens. And I could do all of that in less than $200, maybe about $150, $160.
Okay. Very nice.
And we eating, Olive Gardens. We're not eating like, we eating like a full meal.
Right.
So it's expensive for ordinary Salvadorians because the minimum wage is like about $300 a month. So, but for someone who has a good job, getting, a good salary, then, all this, everything is relatively, if not very cheap for you because it's very affordable, significantly cheaper than in Jamaica. Because like when I go to Jamaica on holidays, I'm like, oh my goodness. No. I'm just hemorrhaging money in Jamaica. Partially though because I'm trying to do all the things that I've missed out on.
Right.
So I want to do get all the
listen,
food.
you see this over there, boy. I haven't tasted this in a while. You see that
partially,
over there?
That's partially the reason why I hemorrhage money in Jamaica, to be honest. But still, there is I can see the difference.
Right.
Gas prices is probably is one way where it manifests itself. Gas prices here are cheap. It's the cheapest in the region actually. Wow. So it's like about if I hope I'm not saying this wrong, I think it's about $3.90 for a gallon right now.
Okay, not bad. Let you talk about gas. Let's talk a little bit about transportation. I don't know what city you're in, but getting around, if someone was to travel there, would you say
you need your own car?
Get your own car.
You need your own car, full stop. There is no reliable public transportation. There is public transportation, but think of public transportation in the 1980s Jamaica after JOS. I don't know if I'm aging myself, but if you remember public transportation in Jamaica after JOS was shut down And then
Right.
you had the quarter millions, and you had all those different bus types, and they were all privately owned by different
Yeah.
individuals.
The
That's what
coasters
El
and
Salvador is, yeah. But the only you have the coasters, but the primary buses is that they import old U.S. school buses, and then those
mm,
old U.S. school buses, they paint them, and they just look fancy with all this painting, and they just look. It's a unique thing in El Salvador, but the problem with it is it can be dangerous because criminals. Again, it's like the 1980s Jamaica. I mean, if you had a gold chain, somebody's coming and grabbing a gold chain.
I
If you
see.
have a fancy cell phone, yeah, you might lose it,
You
right?
know, I saw that the colorful buses in Panama, and it was really interesting seeing these school buses that they painted in all these
Yeah.
fancy
Well,
colors.
that's El Salvador. It's like there's these buses, you see them with all these paintings. They have the coasters as well, but the primary public transportation is, but they're privately owned. That's the problem. It's not a government run bus system that is policed properly.
Okay, I
That
see.
in that regard.
So, have you encountered any local customs that you found very interesting there?
Well, I mean, there's so many, right? So El Salvador is. I don't know to what extent they would admit this, but my observation is that there is more than a residual effect of native Americans here in the culture, in the language. Even though they were colonized by the Spanish and there's a strong Spanish influence, there is still that residual native influence. So a lot of their cultural practices are some sort of spin-off of their original native ideas. Um, one that is very interesting. There is this celebration of some fire god type thing, and I'm making it sound very horrible, but there's this place very close to me actually called Nehapa, and they celebrate the eruption of the San Salvador volcano that I think last time it erupted was maybe 1917, over 100 years ago.
Mm.
And so I actually did it too. You have guys who are throwing fireballs. So it's like they're having a fireball fight,
Wait, wait,
and they're
wait.
throwing fireballs at each other. And you have everybody's on the street watching, and you can actually hold the fireball in your hand if you put on the right glove, and you can throw it. And so it's a fireball fight. And when I say fireball, I mean fireball.
What? So how does it become a ball? Is it like a
It's
piece
like
of
a rubber
foam?
band. It's like it's like I'm assuming it's like a rubber ball that they have made maybe with rubber bands, and it's
Okay,
soaked maybe in kerosene,
right.
and then the light it's lit, and then they throw them, and then the guy is dressed up in in whatever native looking type
Right.
or warfare type stuff, and they start throwing the balls at two different teams throwing, and you're trying to hit each other. It's not throwing like ooh, no, it's like ooh. And then the streets are lined up, and people are just lined off watching it, and if you're brave enough, you take up one and throw.
Wow. And this happens every year.
Happens every year in a place called Nehapo.
And so, is there like, I mean, a team wins, and is something happening after the team win, or it's just for fun and then there's a
Just for
celebration?
fun, and people, and it happens for a couple hours just for fun, and then people disperse go along their own merry ways.
Wow. Wow. That's
Um,
that's very interesting.
you have lots
Now,
of different things like that. I mean, culturally, it's still rich with the indigenous culture. The place names. You hear it
right.
in the place names. So there is still that richness of that sort of culture here.
Okay. I see. No, I know you're well traveled. You mentioned before we even got in. You talked about Jordan. You mentioned earlier Oman, and somewhere else you had mentioned
Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia. Um, Jordan. And I'm not trying to. We're focused on El Salvador, but what how long were you there, and did what was tell us a little bit about the place, just a little bit. I want to still focus on El Salvador, but
I mean, I lived in Jordan, worked in Jordan for 5 years, so technically I lived in the country as well for 5 years. what I'll say, if someone had to ask me in a nutshell about Jordan, I'd say Jordan is a history textbook come alive.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
You know, you have Roman cities still intact, and especially after the war in Libya, where pretty much the one major one, what was in Aleppo, was destroyed. The Jaresh is a whole Roman city intact. It's people don't
Wow.
talk about it, but it's a whole Roman city intact.
Wow. All right. I'm going to flip back now to El Salvador and the landscape. What's the landscape there like? It's there. I think you mentioned there's beaches, or we talked a little bit about beach
Mm-hmm.
and so on. What's it like?
I think there are like maybe about 20 plus volcanoes in El Salvador. So if you live in El Salvador, you're living in a land of volcanoes, literally. But Central America is peppered with volcanoes, as you probably would know.
Right. Yes.
El Bocaran or the Salvador volcano is pretty much in my backyard. I'm looking at it.
Wow.
Right? And most of the towns, or even affluent towns, are pretty much right around the base of the San Salvador volcano. So if you live in El Salvador, get used to the idea of just seeing volcanoes everywhere, right? But the whole place is green. I think probably El Salvador does an injustice to itself, because there are so many gems of locations. Like just last weekend, I went to a place called I hope I can pronounce this right, Periquera, which is a waterfall, very tall, very elegant waterfall with parrots. That's why it's called Periquera, with parrots living right in the face of the waterfall. And it's not very popular, so you're not going there. You're not going to see like 500 people there competing with the spot. It's just you and nature itself.
Nice.
And you have so many spots like that right around El Salvador.
So
yeah, go ahead.
Give me one spot that you say, okay, if there's one spot you must go to when you visit El Salvador, apart from the volcano.
If I told you that there is one spot in Jamaica to go to, which one would you choose? There's more than one spot. You couldn't choose. There's too many spots in El Salvador. I can give you a handful of spots that I would say if you came to El Salvador, you should try and see. But the thing is, many of them they're like, because of the mountainous, semi-mountainous, because it's not really that tall, semi-mountainous nature of the country, some of them are difficult to see. So there's one called Mirador, what's it called again? Something like the view of the world, where you're on the mountain and you're looking out at Fonseca, which is like small islands dotted in the sea, and it's in the border between Nicaragua, Honduras, and El Salvador. So you're looking out at that sort of view of the sea with these islets, perhaps, if you want to call them that are peppered right across the sea. Well, it's the ocean actually, because this is the Pacific side.
Right.
And it's peppered pretty much on the Pacific Ocean. I think it's called the Bay of Fonseca. I know it's Fonseca, but I think it's called the Bay of Fonseca. And it's actually disputed because all three countries lay claim to that area. So there is some dispute there. And somehow China is getting mixed up in that, but I won't get involved in the politics of that.
So let me ask you this. Have you ventured over to Nicaragua?
Yeah, I've been to Nicaragua. It's easy. That's a very good question. One of the advantages of being in Salvador, because it's central of Central America. So that means you're in the middle, and it's relatively easy to drive from El Salvador. Well, I've been to Guatemala many times, and Nicaragua as well. But beyond that, it's easy to drive. You can drive all the way to Mexico. You can drive all the way to the United States, if you want to do that. I have coworkers who live in Panama, or had coworkers who live in Panama and who drive on holidays from El Salvador back to Panama. So you can drive from El Salvador easily in either of both directions. You're not too far from anywhere. You're relatively close to everywhere, because you can hop across to. And another advantage too is that there is this thing called CA4, which is Central America. The 4 Central American countries have an agreement. So if you're a visitor of one, you can cross into the other.
Oh,
So
good
if
to
you're
know.
in El Salvador, if you've legitimately entered El Salvador as a visitor, then the land borders, you don't have an issue driving to Guatemala because you have already entered one of the 4 countries. So it's Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, and Costa Rica. Sorry, Nicaragua. So it's Nicaragua, Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, CA4.
Nice, nice. And you've been to Honduras too?
I've been to Honduras, yeah.
Nice.
One of the nice things about the region as well is that the Mayan culture peppers the area. So there are all these pyramids. So in Honduras, very close to the border to the northern part of El Salvador, an area called Metapan, there is this Mayan ruins called Copan. Very nice. So and then in El Salvador there's also Mayan pyramids.
Nice, nice. So it sounds like El Salvador could be a great hop-off spot if somebody wants to say, let me kind of tour the Central America region for a bit.
Yeah.
Good, good. All right. I appreciate all the time you spent telling us about your journey. We're winding down. I know I think you recently came from Jamaica. So this question is probably fresh in your mind. The scenario is you got off the plane in Jamaica. What's that first thing you're doing once you exit the airport?
I mean, after seeing my mom.
Yes. And again, let me kind of phrase it.
My spot. Yes. My spot is a place called Farmer's Jerk Pit in Old Harbor. I believe they have the best jerk pork in all of Jamaica. I know people will say it's Portland. I've been to Portland. I've had Portland jerk. For me, it's Farmer's in Old Harbor. So in Old Harbor town. So once I get to Jamaica, the soonest possible time I can get to, I'm going to Farmer's to try and get some jerk. That's my thing.
All right. So here is how I typically end. And I know it's Spanish there, but maybe they have an expression. I ask this question: how do you say goodbye in the most informal way in El Salvador?
Oh, I don't think there is I can't think of a way. It's adios, ciao.
All right.
I mean, I say something that's not really Spanish, but it's because of my Jamaican why I say it. I say más tarde, which is, I mean, my wife understands it. People who know me understand it, but it's not really Spanish. It doesn't follow.
So what does it mean?
Más tarde means more later, which is me translating see you later or later.
See you later or little later. Little later.
Yeah, that's me. That's
more.
Little more. That's it's like little more. That means saying little more. So that's my Spanish translation for saying little more.
So you Jamaicanized it. So it's más. What is it now?
Más tarde, which means tarde means later, más means more. So it's more later, which a regular Spanish person would be like, what? What the hell? This guy saying more later. That doesn't make sense.
Well, we may popularize it.
Yes, that's my expression. That's my informal way of saying. So anybody who in my Spanish-speaking world who knows me knows that's my way of saying bye. Más tarde.
All right. Well, Donald, más tarde.
All right. Cool. Take care.
Show some love now. Hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell. That way you don't miss a video.